Hi, and welcome to Exiles Painting. I thought today I'd just talk to you a little bit about painting armies and how to do it effectively. Many of you may enjoy the painting and are trying to push the standard of your painting, but there are other people who just want to get an army on the table and they just want it to be painted so that it looks fine for them. Both of these can use these videos that I'm doing. Personally, I'm a good painter. I could match the display standards that you see in some of these glossy Wargames magazines. But I'm also a very practical person, and I paint for a living, so I don't have a lot of time to paint my own figures. And I wanted to make sure that I had armies to play with. So when it came to painting some Kings of War armies, I decided to effectively dumb down my painting style so that I could get armies painted quickly and get them onto the tabletop. And in doing so, I actually found that I enjoyed the process. I enjoyed the feel of getting an army completed in a fairly quick time and getting it onto the table. And quite frankly, when I started playing with them, because I played with my dad during the lockdown, we had a little gazebo up in the back garden, and he would have one of the armies I've painted and I had the other, and they looked fantastic on the tabletop. Really enjoyed it. So I thought I would share this with people, and it comes down to having the right expectation when you set out to paint your army. Now, anybody who is into their painting probably wants to try and improve and get a lot better at their painting. And if you're also a gamer, you've probably got in the back of your mind somewhere that how awesome it would be to be able to paint an army to your best standard. Now, I'm here to tell you now that it ain't going to happen. For one thing, if you're starting out, you'll find that your painting improves so much that by the time you get to the last unit in your army, it's so much better than the first unit in your army. You've got to manage your expectations. There is no reason why you can't push the standard of your painting. There are skirmish games where maybe you only need half a dozen figures. Then go for it. Try and paint each one individually, paint it to your best standard. But if you're into more figure-heavy war games, like some of the historical stuff, some of the Napoleonics, the Black Powder era, where you need lots of troops, if you try and paint every one of those to your high standard, first you're going to get very frustrated because it's going to take you a long time to get your army onto the tabletop, or even to get it to a place where you could play. So I thought I would share what I've come up with, and that's why I've done these series of videos, because even the most basic of paint jobs, if done uniformly across an army and a unit, can make the army look fantastic. So when I say having the right expectations, it's all about knowing what you want. If you're a gamer, there's no reason why. Take Kings of War, for example. I've based all mine on multi-bases. So effectively, each base or each unit is a playing piece in the game that I want to play. So there's no reason why I couldn't, if I wanted to, just play with that, because that's the size of a troop, and that's what would be on the troop. So I could put that on the tabletop and I could play with that. Nice and cheap, nice and simple, bit of MDF and a bit of paint. The next step would be to add a bit of colour to your bases, which you can see here. This is just a basic the troop is based, and it's got a brown colour on it. This is actually the base coat for the paint job I do. But you can take that a step further, and here is the finished troop, and as you can see, it looks really good. I've not put major effort into painting the tunics and the weapons. I have gone to town with the face and the arms and the flesh because that's what I like doing, and I can do it very quickly. You could get just as good an effect by putting a base layer of a flesh tone on and hitting it with a good flesh coloured wash, which would give you the same contrast. So for me, I was looking to get my armies painted all to that standard, and I could do it quickly. So I thought, well, why not share this? Why not show other people that you don't have to be pushing the standard every time. If you want to get an army onto the tabletop, sometimes you just need to dumb down your painting a little bit and concentrate on the overall image and not the individual figure. So when you've decided that you're wanting to get your army painted and onto the table quickly, there are a few common tips that I can give you. First off, if you can, try and base coat the figure in, you know, the primary colour that the army is going to be. If you're painting Napoleonic British, then they were red coats, so you might want to think about base coating it in red. If you're doing Dark Age Vikings, then they're going to be predominantly chainmail and metal helmets, so you would want to undercoat it. I would personally undercoat it in black and dry brush it with a metal colour, but there's no reason why you couldn't undercoat it in the metal colour and then wash it to get the tones. So that's one thing. Think about using the majority of the colour as a base coat, or a black base coat and overbrush with the major colour, which is what I did with the ogres in the first painting video I showed you. A few other things. Don't bother painting the shoes. Leave the shoes or the feet. Well, if they've got bare feet, obviously you need to paint them flesh, but if they've got shoes on, just leave them either the black undercoat that you put over, or just slap a bit of brown on them. Nobody is going to pick up a War Games figure and go, wow, look how well those shoes are painted. Yeah, it ain't going to happen. People are going to pick the figure up, they're going to look at the weaponry, they're going to look at the face. They ain't going to look at the shoes. And if they do, quite frankly, they're sad. The other thing, it sounds a bit odd because most of the times when you're learning to paint, people suggest that you sort of paint from the inside out, so you do the flesh first and then you do the inner tunics and then you finish off the straps. For me, I leave the flesh till last, because then I don't have to worry about painting over it, so I can be, you know, if I'm painting the collar of something, I don't need to worry about splashing it onto the chin. And you can always take your time with the flesh then, because you know you can block in the whole of the flesh as a nice tone and then hit it with a wash, and you'll find it'll speed up the process. And as I stated on the very first video, if you can, do all your basing first. You know, put the texture down, spray it, paint it, dry brush it, get it all first before you've painted. Again, it doesn't matter if you slap paint around and get it onto the figures. There are a few things that I would suggest if you want to do army painting, which people will be turning over in the grave, or they'll be leaving nasty comments for me, or they will just scream at me. But if you can paint an area in one coat, then paint it in one coat, because every extra brush stroke you have to do over the top of a figure is more time you're spending. It's all about getting the most out of the shortest time. So I'm going to carry on doing these videos. I'm getting some really nice comments back. If you know anybody who's looking to get an army painted nice and quick, or somebody who's just getting into the hobby and maybe wants to do some basic painting first before they then move on and try and do blending and all the fancy techniques that they can find, you know, point them in the direction of my videos. If they want to leave me a message, I'm quite happy to chat to anybody. So thank you for watching. It's been a bit of a ramble, I'm going to hopefully edit this down so that it's not too long, but thank you for watching, and then next part I'll go back to some painting. I'm probably going to show you how I did these lance necks, because that was a nice quick paint job. So till the next video, bye for now.